Such an exciting, incredible year for women in music. Leading the nominations, like this is going to be a pop girl summit. And if the fans weren't so unbearable, that would be a gorgeous, gorgeous occasion. The main thing going against Torture Poets Department is that nobody wants it to win. Nobody wants it to win other than Swifties. Not a single person on the history
Nobody.
of the planet. I really thought that was like a Grammy shoo-in to me. That's the kind of song in like 2012. It's very Imagine Dragons.
Lana said, get up on my stage. You're welcome on any stage I book. Song of the year, record of the year, album of the year? Yes, Ron Dutch. Hat of the year? Yeah. Ron Dutch.
Welcome back to the Evolution of a Snake. I'm Zach.
And I'm Madeline.
And this is our deep dive into the 2025 Grammys. This is a topic that we have discovered and chatted about at length already, if you can believe it, and the nominations weren't even out. And now they're here. So Madeline, what was your kind of overall reaction to seeing this year's Grammy nominations?
Honestly, my reaction was pretty positive, I think, if I recall correctly. I think I was like, this is not bad. This is not... There has been years... Believe you me, there have been years where it has been Cricket City. And a lot of the nominees this year I anticipated, I expected. There were only really a couple of things that I thought were snubbed. I thought that overall they made the right choices for the nominees. I felt positive about it. I actually don't know what is your opinion on it, because I haven't looked into what any other person's opinion on it has been.
I felt very much, well, yes, about most of it.
Yeah.
I think there were a few shocking snubs that upset me, triggered me, traumatized me. And I have to just go, off the top of my head, I have to just start with Eternal Sunshine by Ariana Grande. Now, apparently, I didn't know this, but there is lore to Ariana and the Grammys, like,
there is
politically. There is a moment where she said F the Grammys and she did not perform what she was supposed to perform when she was invited to perform it. And there was a whole thing between her and the creative director of the Grammys. And as such, she has not really been nominated prolifically since. But that didn't really strike me as an issue because I didn't think that Positions was like anything really to write home about. But with Eternal Sunshine, and I mean, this is where I always get hung up with the Grammys. It's like, their balance of awards had prior to by an artist to charts and sales to cultural impact to critical acclaim to personal artistic development and growth and excellence, they seem to be, I mean, obviously it's a voting body, so it's not just like one ominous figure, it's like a bunch of people. There's a screening committee. They seem to be inconsistent in how they apply their ethos, and I think that it being political is one of the stupidest parts about it. And I think we're seeing a lot of political nominations as well. We have Beyonce leading with 11 nominations this year. And I think that's because they are scared of her. That's my opinion on that.
Well, she is the one who's made the most amount of noise. For sure, her and Jay-Z both have made the most amount of noise. It I think puts a lot of pressure on them, which I think is exactly what Beyonce and Jay-Z want. I think they want to put pressure on them, and to that I say congratulations, my friend. Congratulations,
you win.
Congratulations,
as you should, because the Grammys are stupid, and if we can back them into a corner and terrify them, listen, Beyonce was completely robbed. Don't get me wrong. Not winning Album of the Year for Lemonade and Renaissance are like two truly baffling snubs. But as I've said before, I don't know if you agree, Madeline, to me, we'll get into it, Cowboy Carter is not the redemption arc that I would like her to have with the Academy. But Ariana Grande getting snubbed for even a look-in for Album of the Year. Now that I was kind of like, she was a little bit more quiet with this record cycle. It came out earlier in the year. It was one of the first ones to be released. I think the first pop girl big release of the year for sure. And I kind of let that one go. But when I saw that We Can't Be Friends wasn't nominated for Song or Record of the Year, I was like, now how can this be? How can this be? How are we putting 360 in Song or Record of the Year and we're not putting We Can't Be Friends? I'm sorry. It doesn't add up. That feels like a deliberate, pointed omission.
I don't feel that way. I don't feel that way.
Cricket.
And I do not feel that way. I've never felt the same way. I don't feel strongly about it either which way, ever, with Eternal Sunshine. Not anything from it, not the album. I've never really felt strongly about it. I didn't even really notice it missing. honestly. I mean, I kind of thought
Well,
about her for album of
you
the
should be
year, but
dead.
I didn't think that like
Best music
I'm
video?
shocked.
We Can't
Well,
Be Friends?
maybe
You
I
didn't think
guess,
that might
but
have deserved?
what? Who else is in best? No, because there's nobody that I would take out of song or record. I don't think there's anybody I would take out of music
Oh,
video either to put
you wouldn't take Now and Then
We
by the
Can't Be
Beatles out?
Friends. Oh, well, I forgot about that.
You wouldn't take that out?
I would take Now and Then by the Beatles out, but would it be We Can't Be
Mm-hmm.
Friends? I don't know about that.
Right. I see. I think you should be dead.
That's just my onion. It's been my onion since the beginning, and it's not that I don't think that she was snubbed. It's not that I don't think that she should be nominated, but I am saying I don't feel very strongly about it. I'm not saying
Yeah, it's just not your cup of
burn
tea
down the
one way or
Grammys.
another.
How could this be? And also, it makes sense. Like you said, it makes absolute sense because you say anything about them, they tend to not really like it very much. But it also tends to not really be like across the board. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like Charli says, I'm gonna burn this place to the ground, and they don't really care. But Ariana says,
They're
fuck the Grammys.
inconsistent in how they apply this logic, and I think it really depends on like personal relationships at the end of the day, probably. Who were there any big notable snubs that you saw? I saw the Dua Lipa fans going crazy about Radical Optimism not getting nominated, and I was chortling, actually. I was chortling.
I noticed Megan Thee Stallion. I thought that was a pretty big omission. I noticed
Uh-huh.
Megan Maroney. Am I okay? That I thought that was like a huge song. I thought the country songs were kind of random as well. I know this is like now everything's so weird with Zach Bryan, but I was kind of surprised that he wasn't nominated. Of course, now that everything's come to light, it's like, well, now we don't really care. But I did think that was interesting. Additionally, the Eras Tour movie not getting nominated for Best Music Film was interesting.
Was it submitted?
I don't know actually. I'm not sure
I
about
don't
that,
recall seeing it in her
which
submissions,
is
but I could be wrong about
weird.
that.
Which is very very strange
Yeah.
because it was in the bracket. It was in the time frame. So why wouldn't she
Hmm.
submit that? Like that's the
Maybe she
thing
did and it
that
just
you
didn't get nominated.
probably could have really won, and I think personally would have deserved it out of all of the things that have been submitted. So that's interesting to me. Why?
That would
Why?
be her
Why?
most
Why?
deserved award, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
That's the one that I would be like, unquestionably, you should be having this nomination. Taylor does not lead the pack this year in terms of nominations. She is not even second most nominated. I'd say she has definitely made history. She's the only woman to ever be nominated for Album of the Year 7 times. So congratulations to Taylor Swift on that. Unfortunately for her, I do not think she will be taking home the Album of the Year trophy this year. It is stiff competition, Lizard.
It is very stiff competition this year. The Song of the Year category, I think Record of the Year category, and Pop Vocal Album are stacked, stacked, stacked. Pop Vocal Album is the one in specific where I was like, I literally don't know which one I would pick to win because I
Mm-hmm.
think they all deserve to win.
Also, Best New Artist. Best New Artist is
Best New
pretty
Artist,
stacked.
stacked.
And in the
Yeah.
sense that I think there are a lot of different Grammy darlings in the Best New Artist category. So we have, I guess we can start with Best New Artist. We have Benson Boone, we have Sabrina Carpenter, we have Doechii, Kruang Bin, not sure that I'm saying that right, Ray, Chappell Roan, Shabuzi, and Teddy Swims. Now, I am saying this is undoubtedly, unquestionably Chappell Roan's award.
I think Chappell or Sabrina, but I think Chappell is probably, I would personally think more of the frontrunner for the award just because she's had a really impressive beginning, and I think that is what the award really is for, which isn't to say that Sabrina Carpenter's like breakout hasn't been impressive as well and how hard she's worked in this, that, and the other thing, but Chappell has been like consistently the name on everybody's lips, and she's had such an incredible debut record and such an incredible debut cycle. It just kind of makes the most sense.
She built this nomination brick by brick. I
She did
mean,
brick by
Chappell
boring
was
brick.
I remember when Good Luck Babe came out and there was that random TikTok cessation of having music on TikTok for a while. They couldn't have trending sounds. And she was like low key freaking out that Good Luck Babe was going to flop because she would not be able to put it on TikTok. And I remember her posting something being like, I'm a small independent artist and I really rely on this. So I would appreciate if you guys could share it. And when I think of that versus like seeing her on the Guts tour and the Netflix film and doing Coachella and all of this stuff, it is really amazing what Chappell Roan has been able to do. And Best New new artist, I mean, in my idea, is for, yes, it is for a breakthrough moment, which is why someone like Sabrina Carpenter can be nominated. But I love to see a winner of an underdog, someone that came out of nowhere and took the culture by storm. When Lorde won it, I was thrilled. When Olivia Rodrigo won it, I was thrilled. And I think with Sabrina Carpenter, it's, in my opinion, that she's had a really good chance at becoming a star. She's had several funded attempts at doing this, and with Chappell Roan, she's scrappier. And I'm always rooting for the antihero.
Yep, we're always rooting for the antihero, and I'm having a ball on this rooting for the antihero as usual.
Do I think that the Grammy Academies love Benson Boone? Probably.
Not me. I mean, does he bear a passing resemblance to Harry Styles, who we know the Grammys love enough to award him Album of the Year over Renaissance? Well, absolutely. We do know that. But it stops there.
Does he look great
it
in a
stops
Speedo?
there. To
Absolutely.
you, to Zach, absolutely he does. Absolutely he does. Does he do his little flips on the stage?
Oh,
absolutely he does.
But
He
a
does
Speedo
that.
doesn't get you Best New Artist. A Speedo does
doesn't.
not get you Best New Artist.
It doesn't.
And you know, an underdog in this category also would be Ray. Ray has had a really incredible breakout year in the UK, especially. She really reminds me of Amy Winehouse so much. And I think that that is something that the Grammys will really respond to. And she's a real musician in a sense that the Grammys really like. That's not to say that the other people in this category aren't musicians, but I think that Ray has a very, like, you know what I mean? Like she plays exactly straight down the middle with Grammy voters. So I think honestly it's between Chappell and Ray. That would be my feeling. I think that Sabrina will get her flowers elsewhere. I don't think Best New Artist is her category.
I think I would agree. I was surprised to see Ray there because it's one of those ones where it's like, oh, you consider that's okay. I understand. It's like when they put It's like when they put Glass Animals in. How many years after they had been making music? That was one of the most surprising
Sabrina in
ones.
Best New Artist, can we just say, is crazy? Just in terms of how long she's been making music. 5 albums. 5 albums and Best New Artist.
For us, who was like kind of been knowing her, I would say I've known about Sabrina Carpenter for, including
2
Short
years.
and Sweet, like 3 album cycles. I would say.
Yes.
I remember Sue Me, and then I remember Emails I Can't Send, and now Short and Sweet.
Something about fingers. There was a song that she wrote about fingertips or something. I remember this.
It's out of my. I have no idea what that is. It's none of my business.
My business.
So it's interesting to see. We've like followed her career enough to be like, oh yeah, I guess like she's not really been in the mainstream, I'll put it that way, and now all of a sudden she's having this huge massive breakout. Ray, because she's a UK artist, I feel like there's sometimes like a lack of translation. Something can be huge in the UK and I won't know a thing.
Ray is also very British. Like what she writes and how she delivers her songs is very British in a sense that I think goes even further than Amy Winehouse did, because Amy Winehouse was very retro, very old school. And Ray has that about her, but she also has a very modern kind of colloquial way of writing. And I think that young people in the UK really respond to that. But the music is fantastic. Like she is really, she's very classically talented. So we clap and cheer for her. I think, should we just get straight into Album of the Year? This is the one that's going to start all the Stan wars. Everyone's going to get upset about it. We're only going to talk about the pop girl nominations, really, because that's our area of expertise. And to me, these are the only albums that are up for Album of the Year. If anything other than these albums wins,
well, for the record, if the Andre 3000 flute music wins, I'm going to clap and cheer. I will clap and cheer. Honestly, to me, that's best case scenario. I'm going to tell you the total truth.
Because it'll stop. Then all the stands will unite.
I am 100% pro Andre 3000 flute music. 100%. Take it away.
Where should we start? Do you want to start with Cowboy Carter?
Yes, let's start with the old Cowboy Carter.
We're going to give you a pro and a con for each album. Tell you whether we would like it to win and whether we think it will win. So there you go. Madeline, what are your pros and cons for Beyonce's album, Cowboy Carter?
So for Cowboy Carter, I think it's really hard to deny that this was an incredibly groundbreaking record. It was genre bending. I think it also is important to note that it challenged the status quo in a genre like country that is completely obsessed with the status quo being white men overwhelmingly white men, and then they're not super accepting of black artists in country music. So I think you really can't take that away from Cowboy Carter. I think it is an important record. It started a lot of interesting conversations about genre and music, specifically in country music. And I also think it's kind of cool that Beyonce challenged herself to do something totally different, especially as, you know, in this point in her career. I think that's an interesting thing of a woman in her place and at her age to be totally doing something brand new. You don't see that a lot from people who are in their third decade of making music. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I also think it's unlike any other album that came out this year. So those are my in support of Cowboy Carter winning the album of the year, winning the album of the year award.
Yes. I
Yes.
think that I agree with you. The technical excellence of this record is really something to behold, and Beyonce's like standards for excellence, just her personal standards for excellence, are unmatched by any other contemporary pop artist. She is always pushing herself and innovating and evolving in ways that I think also go kind of against the grain of what people want her to do, because I think after Lemonade there was an expectation that she would just kind of repeat that over and over again. And she really resisted that for a long time. She had the Lion King project that she was doing, and she did her collaborative album with Jay-Z, and then she came back with Renaissance and Renaissance Act 2, Cowboy Carter. I mean, you can see that there is a very deliberate focus on evolution and also like doing what I think she's guided by creatively outside of what's commercial or what's popular. Lana Del Rey might say that Beyonce was copying her by putting out a country record.
One of my favorite Lana Del Rey like quotes of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I said I wanted to make my country album, and suddenly two major artists are releasing country albums. So who knows what's going to happen? Who knows?
Meanwhile,
indeed, Lana.
We have Texas Hold'em and Tough like the scuff on your old leather boot. Yep. Please be serious.
Please be serious.
But I think there are songs on Cowboy Carter that are really just, I think also vocally, this record is something else with Beyonce. Like her duet with Miley Cyrus is so beautiful. Yaya is such a weird, freaky, interesting song. Riverdance. Like this album is strange. It's a kooky, experimental, weird album. But I also think if we're getting into the like critiques of it, I would say that sometimes it feels a little bloated. And I think it was like, I'm going to probe every vein of country music that I can possibly think of. Like, we're going to do bluegrass, we're going to do country western, we're going to do like country pop. Like, it seemed as though we were chasing so many different rabbits on this record that Beyonce as an artist kind of got lost a little bit. And I think, you know, I am always wondering like who is Beyonce as an artist, because she does shapeshift so much. And I felt like, you know, Renaissance was a little weird, but I really felt like Beyonce was there. She was present. Whereas on Cowboy Carter, I feel like this is like an academic exercise for Beyonce. She's doing herself, but at her most like intelligent. But I don't feel so connected to it.
I think that's a very interesting observation. I thought that was very astute, because I think there's something about it that feels very like disconnected, and it feels like all over the place. And like, to be fair, a lot of that could have to do with the genre bending and how many different spoons she has and how many different kettles that she's cooking on the stove, which is awesome. But then it's like, also, what is this really saying about Beyonce as Beyonce? I think it says something interesting about her as an artist and how she's willing to take risks and how she's willing to try new things and this, that, and the other thing. But what does it say about Beyonce other than Beyonce's from Texas?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really get a sense of who is Beyonce. Whereas on other albums, Lemonade, on Renaissance, you really get a picture of like Beyonce.
Mm-hmm. And I think also that the way that it was marketed as well is a little confusing, because like there are two really strong selling points with this, right? One of them is that Beyonce is challenging a notoriously racist and non-porous genre that does not want to let people like Beyonce into it. And she has experienced that firsthand when she performed with the Chicks, and there was that whole meltdown. And country radio won't play her, all of this stuff. That's a very noble reason to do an album like this. But then that's also a bit muddled by the messaging of I think she directly said, this is not a country album. This is a Beyonce album. And that argument is a little weaker to me when I can't see Beyonce so clearly on this record. I just see Beyonce doing country. That's really what I see.
Right, exactly. And that's how I feel about it too. I just feel like something is lost in all of the different flavors of the album. If you put too many things in the pot, it just starts to taste like soup, and there's no like defining ingredient that you can pick out.
This is what one of the reviews said about it. Beyonce has given us her most excessive body of work to date. It is unfocused, it swerves and changes directions, yet delivers quality in so many different ways, no part of it can be called inessential. While one could choose a cynical route and think their way into not appreciating the full project, the truth is history and will be kind to Cowboy Carter as yet another classic album from Beyonce. I will say that like Cowboy Carter needed to marinate. Like it was one of those records that was not intended to be digested and understood on a first listen.
I completely agree with that. I remember listening to it. I stayed up to listen to it, and that was a bad idea. This is not an album you want to be listening to at the nighttime when you're supposed to be in bed, because I was having a really hard time clicking it all together in my head. I will say that for me, I think Cowboy Carter, in terms of Beyonce albums, even just zooming in on Beyonce albums, Cowboy Carter has the least amount of replay quality to me. I will play Bodyguard. I will play Yaya. I will play Two Most Wanted, and those are kind of my Cowboy Carter pulls. There are entire sections of the album that I just feel like they go too far out, if that makes any sense. But I think that, I mean, if you think about Yaya, that's probably my favorite song from the record. That's the one that's the weirdest and like the most out there, and goes the farthest away from country while still pulling enough from it that it's like, okay, it's Beyonce and it's country, and that's one of the songs where it comes together most perfectly. Then there's other songs Tina
where she's Turner
just
influence on it.
Where she's like just doing a country song. What the hell is that Blackbird Beatles cover?
Yeah,
I still want the answer to that question. Why is that there? Removed.
And also, I got a comment in one of my unpopular opinion videos that said Beyonce's eras are hurting without visuals because Beyonce is such a visual artist. And I mean, like Beyonce, self-titled, Lemonade, those records were so much more powerful with the visuals attached. And Renaissance, I mean, she said you are the visual, but then we got the Renaissance short film or the tour film, and then I that made sense to me. I was like, okay, I understand this world more. But with Cowboy Carter, it's like her refusal to kind of do any sort of like video engagement. I understand why, like artistically, conceptually, why she wouldn't, but also it makes a difficult album to corral even more difficult to corral when we don't have a way to root ourselves in it visually.
Exactly. I feel the exact same way. And I feel like Beyonce is such a good visuals artist as well. I feel like her projects really become fully realized when we have the visuals. And I do think that she's very talented in that sense. So I think everybody's really disappointed by the lack of Cowboy Carter visuals, because I mean, she looks really good in the few visuals that we've had.
CUNTRY.
Yeah,
country.
CUNTRY country. Exactly. My favorite kind. My favorite kind of country.
Your favorite kind of country. So
Yep.
I'm saying, I mean, odds of this winning, I'd say it has a very good shot. I think also the Grammys know that they need to give Beyonce Album of the Year. And I personally don't think that's a good enough reason to give Cowboy Carter Album of the Year, but I'm not complaining if Beyonce finally gets her Album of the Year trophy. It was also out of these categories, it was the second, all the pop girl records in Album of the Year category, it's the second most highly critically acclaimed. So
say that. And I think that
there's
should
that argument for
realize that. Exactly.
Beyonce, good luck. We wish you the best of luck. We will be seated on Grammy night. Who is up next, Madeline?
So up next we have Betty Boop herself, Miss Sabrina Carpenter, with Short and
Queenie.
Sweet. So let's get right into the pros, because there are a few. So number one, who can deny? Smash. Number one smash. Worldwide hit smash. 3 massive hits. We had Espresso, we had Please, 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 and then we had Taste. 3 massive hits on the charts. I'm pretty sure she was charting all 3 of them at the same time at one point. And then also she dethroned herself with Please, Please, Please and Espresso at one point. In an era when it's really hard to get a hit at the magnitude of Espresso, to do it 3 times is crazy, and I don't think anybody can take that away from her. I think Espresso was the song of the summer, and I also think it's going to go down as one of the best songs of the decade, at least pop song of the decade. So there's that. I also think it's important to remember and to note that this is really Sabrina coming into her own and really having her own creative vision for, I think, the first time in her entire career. It's like she's finally getting all the pieces together of the puzzle, and she's worked really, really hard to get to this point. And I do think that that should be celebrated. And those are my reasons for why I think it should win and could win and just might win for all we know.
I think that it's a contender. I don't think it's a top contender, just personally. I agree with you that I love to see the journey that Sabrina has gone on. We all know that we were card carrying Sabrina Carpenter skeptics. Okay. We were not on the train of this is anything to be paying attention to until this rollout came out.
We were haters. No, we'll say it. We were antis.
We were haters. We were haters. we were Sabrina non-believers. We were uncarpenters. And you know, I love to be impressed by excellence and turned around. That's always the goal. So we did a quick 180 when Espresso came out because, like you said, song of the decade, maybe. So I think Short and Sweet is really excellent and a marvel to me because of the marketing strategy and the rollout and the way that she managed to keep the momentum going for a long period of time in a way that no other artist seems to have been able to do in a very recent period of time. So it was like a very old-fashioned album campaign, which I love to see. And that is kind of the main thing that I think is very inspiring and good about Short and Sweet is how patient and diligent Sabrina was about doing things in their right time rather than rushing through. When I look at the album just as a body of work and I'm looking at the track list, there are a lot of really good, fun songs. But I would say outside of those 3 songs, plus maybe like Bedchem, I think, and Good Graces is a bop too. I would say the album is not on par with the excellence level that I think has been set on some of these other records. And I think, you know, part of that suffers because it's short and sweet and it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be frothy. It's supposed to be light and breezy. And that's not a poo-poo to the light and breezy songs out there. We all know that I love them. But I think that sonically, when I listen to the record, it's not as adventurous as something like The Rise and Fall of the Midwest Princess. So I find it hard to give it the excellence marks there, but for the sales, for the impact, for the cultural moment of it all, I can for sure see it. And honestly, when you have a hit like Espresso, that kind of automatically qualifies your album as a serious contender because of how big that song was. And also from a critical perspective, this is on the lower end of albums that were reviewed as an 84 on Metacritic. The lowest one is Torture Poets Department, but we'll get to that later.
I didn't know that, but that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there.
We'll get to that. The New York Times said that Short and Sweet they said it's a smart, funny, cheerfully merciless catalog of bad boyfriend behavior and the deceptions and rationalizations that enable it. Carpenter mostly smiles and winks her way through songs that recognize the irrational power of lust, but definitely twist the knife on cheaters and hypocrites. So true.
Who could deny that? Who could deny that? I definitely agree with you that the fact of the matter is Short and Sweet does not reinvent the wheel. And I also think it's up against some really long albums, ironically. For being short and sweet, it is up against some really long albums. Cowboy Carter is very long. Torture Poets is very long. Brat is now very long because of that remix album. And I think, like, it's not that the remix album is in the contender pot, but, like, as a voter who's just a human person, that might be something that you're thinking about. It's in the mind's eye. So those are probably the 3 or in the top 5 for what is going to be the highest contender, and of course Midwest Princess as well. And so it's like, then you have Short and Sweet, which by comparison seems, and this is not the word that I would use to describe it, but somebody might think it seems vapid when compared to something like Cowboy Carter or Torture Poets or Brat, by comparison alone. So that's
because they're all making points somehow in one way or another. And Sabrina is making a point with Short and Sweet. Don't get me wrong. We've been saying all year, we've been needing fun. We've been needing humor. We've been needing glamour. We've been needing drama. And she gave us all of those things. I think that Sabrina's strongest, contentions this year are probably in Song and Record of the Year. I think Short and Sweet has a very good chance at getting Pop Vocal Album. A very good chance at getting that.
I think the pop vocal album category is crazy. Did I already say this? I think I did.
Yeah,
but
you said it's stacked.
Crazy. Who do we have? We have Eternal Sunshine. We have Midwest Princess. We have Eternal Sunshine. I already said that. We have Short and Sweet. Brat, is that in there?
No, we
And
have Tortured Poets, we have Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess, Eternal Sunshine, Hit Me Hard and Soft, and Short and Sweet. Unfortunately, I think Taylor probably has a good shot at that because I think she's going to miss out on Album of the Year and a couple of the other big awards. But Sabrina Carpenter, to me, I don't know. I'm seeing her being a strong contender there.
I'm seeing the vision too. I'm seeing the vision. I'm seeing the vision of Chappell Sweep. Trust me, I'm seeing Chappell Sweep.
Oh,
but in my
we're
mind's
seeing that
eye,
vision.
I'm seeing Chappell Sweep. But I do.
Mhm.
This is such a great year for female artists. That's like, as much as I want the Chappell Sweep, I'm like,
I know,
give
but
something
we
to
all
the
got
other girls.
crowns.
We all got crowns. What
We all
about
got
that?
crowns.
Yeah,
There are
so
so
that
many
there's-
deserving entries this year. Such an exciting, and we forgot to say this off the top of the episode. Such an exciting, incredible year for women in music, leading the nominations. Like, this is going to be a pop girl summit, and if the fans weren't so unbearable, that would be a gorgeous, gorgeous occasion.
Yeah, it's kind of harshing the vibe. I'm sure there's
I
gonna
would
be some
imagine
of them under the comments. You take yourself down in
whoever
the comments,
wins
gentle
is going to
viewer.
feel really happy, and then they're going to feel really scared, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, because then you have the stan armies after you, and that's why I'm saying Andre 3000, take it away,
Flute
take it away.
Let's just get him up there. All right, Sabrina, I think your chances of winning are, it's not nothing, but I wouldn't put her in the top 3. And I wish you best of luck. Who is next, Madeline? Who's up next?
Up next, we have the brat herself, Miss Charli XCX. I don't think
The angel.
anybody can deny record of the summer. The girlies were streaming it. The girlies were playing it. I also think that it's one of those albums where, and Charli is one of those artists as well, where it's like you see her and you see the album and you think you know exactly what it's going to be. But if you go into it and you look deeper at it, you find that there's actually a lot of interesting things on the album that aren't just about being the 365 party girl. She is the 365 party girl. I mean, let's not pull any punches here. She is, but she's also like a real person, and she's a real human woman, and she gets into all kinds of vulnerabilities here. I think that the album has multiple really interesting outlooks on like what it's like to be a woman and to be a woman in the industry, with Girl So Confusing, even with Sympathy is a Knife, and of course with the I Think About It All the Time, where she's musing about whether or not she wants to be a mother and what that's going to mean for her career. It's such an interesting song because that's something that I think a lot of women think about literally all the time, especially when we get to like the age that she's at and the age that I'm at and the age that a lot of women are at. So that is an interesting part of it, and it makes Brat sort of like dynamic. And that's why I think it has a high possibility of winning. On the other side of the coin, I do think people think that it was more big than it was. I do think that. I think the gay people need to turn off their phones and look at reality every now and again and see what's really going on. Because all of your friends are listening to Brat, that's great. Is the whole world listening to it?
Well, no.
Well, no.
You isolate your average Grammy voter in a room and say, sing me 2 bars of a song from Brat. They are going to struggle.
Right. It has no.
They know what it is. They know Brat Summer. Right. They know Charli XCX, but the music itself, I think,
and you can see that
transcended in that way
from the fact that they nominated 360 for Song of the Year out of all the songs that they could have picked from Brat. It's like 360.
Yeah, see, I'm saying yes. I'm saying that's the song.
It's not. So it's not the one that I think when I think Brat. I think Apple would have made more sense. And I also think that, I mean, I'm the Von Dutch Warrior. Everybody knows this. I think it's the best song in the entire universe. Nobody else seems to think so. Just me. But that's what I would have put up. Song of the Year, Record of the Year, Album of the Year. Yes, Von Dutch. Hat of the Year. Yeah. Von Dutch.
Yes. Yeah, interesting. The Brat conversation is so interesting because obviously Charli is such an innovator and like a leader of a very specific kind of center-left pop revolution, if you will. The PC music, bringing that to the forefront, making A.G. Cook's production, I guess, more popular and more accessible to people. That is a very creative and interesting thing that she's done. She also, I think, just has been in the industry long enough to understand just now, how to navigate doing her thing while also doing the pop thing. She has kind of flirted with both of those two things. She's been ping-ponging between either side, between being a cult classic and being a pop star. And she finally found like the perfect balance. She's like an XL cult classic. That's how I view her. I still don't categorize her as a main pop girl, and that's not to be insulting to her, but just because I think that the music is just by design a little bit too inaccessible for her to be like a Sabrina Carpenter, a Chappell, a Taylor, a Beyonce. And that is not a knock on it. It's so unique and different that it's not for everyone. And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. But I do think, when we're talking about Brat deserving album of the year, I'm really thinking of awarding it based on the marketing strategy. And something that Charli has said is that she almost views the marketing as more important than the music itself. And she has a lot more fun figuring out how to make a moment last and how to create a moment that goes on forever. And that was the most fulfilling part of creating Brat to me. So if Brat gets album of the year, I'm really looking at that as a nod to the way in which it was like a living, breathing document. It was updated, it was added, there were revisions, there were remixes, there was a whole remix album. That is so cool to me. I don't think we've seen a level of interactivity with an album like that. And I'm cheering and clapping for that. But when it comes straight down to like the music and the cultural impact beyond it being a marketing moment, I'm not as convinced that it is a shoo-in for that award.
I definitely agree, and I think that a lot of Charli XCX stands are of the opinion that it is a shoo-in and that it's the most natural conclusion. Brat Summer, Brat Summer, Brat Summer, this, that, and the other thing. But my true feeling about it is that Brat Summer does not a album of the year make. It was 3 months out of the year. We were wearing a hideous shade of green. Okay.
I mean, it's Brat Summer,
Anything
not
else?
Brat Year.
Yeah, it's Brat Summer, not Brat Year. I think, we just went over them. There's lots of reasons why I think it deserves, and there's just as many reasons why I think that it might fall short. I think that it's more underground than people realize it is, which is a good thing, 100%. And it's a bad thing. By the way, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It
Getting
depends on how you look at it.
Getting a nomination at all is a coup for Charli. It's a coup.
Congratulations to the Charli. It's such a big deal for her, and I think like for perhaps hyperpop as a genre, I think it's a really, which that's another pro. I think that she is at this point now in culture right now, she is perhaps the benchmark of hyperpop, and she's the person that if you're gonna do hyperpop, it's like when Camila Cabello was releasing her album. Who was she getting compared to? Miss Charlotte. Who
automatically
else? So
and
I think
Charli does this thing that is impossible to replicate as well, which is what's so fascinating about her. It's like you can put on the Charli wig, but you cannot inhabit the Charli energy, the Charli presence. She is so charismatic, and I think that is a great boon to her winning album of the year. Like when you see her on stage, like she has just really come into her own as an artist, and I really do love to see that. And also I think hyperpop, as much as we said that it's like maybe not the most palatable thing in the world, she's definitely made it palatable way more than anyone ever has before. And I think that introducing a new sound into the mainstream is a really cool and amazing thing to do. So congratulations to Charli. And I think also from a critical perspective, this is bar none the most well-received album of the year. It has a 95 on Metacritic, and Pace Magazine said that Brat is one of her least immediately accessible records. Instead, it plays up the aspects of her campy, fascinating sound that longtime fans love. In that sense, she's following the lead of the artists at her level. Luckily for Charli, none of her peers are making anything as singular as she is.
Period. Absolutely, period.
Next level Charli.
Thank you. Next level Charli.
Level
number one
Charli.
Angel. We love to see it.
Number one angels. We're rooting, we're clapping, we're cheering. I won't be mad if Brat wins album of the year. I will not be mad about that at all.
I will smile and I will clap. I will be happy. So far, everyone that we've gone through, I'm going to clap and I'm going to cheer. I'm going to clap and I will cheer.
There's only one pop girl record that I'm not going to clap and cheer for, and I think that might be up next. What's the next one that you have on your list, Madeline?
So the next one is Billie Eilish, Hit Me Hard and Soft.
Hit Me Hard and
Miss Billie, Miss Grammy, darling, as we know, Miss Billie. So here's some of my pros. Here's some of my pros. So Birds of a Feather, massive hit. People love the Birds of a Feather. I hear it all the time. Follows me around constantly.
Mm-hmm.
The album performed well. Is it the highest charting album of all time? Well, no, and we know who was, but that's neither here nor there. As a huge part of the conversation around Hit Me Hard and Soft had to do with, you're blocking Billie from her number one, and I won't say who that was, but you know who it was.
I don't know who it was. I don't know her.
Everyone loves Billie, and the Grammys loves Billie. I think the album is good, and it's so funny. I'm like reading my notes, and it says, I think the album is good, but I'm realizing as I'm doing this that mostly what I like about the album is that it's a Billie album, and I think Billie is amazingly talented, but I don't have very many pros for this one taking it away. But I should note that it has been my opinion since for like months that I think this album has a really high chance of winning. And it's not just because she's a Grammys darling, it's just because I know how they think. And I know
there's also momentum.
There's momentum
behind this record. People really like it.
Yeah, people
My
like
personal
it.
feelings about it aside, people really do like it. It is a very popular album, so it's doing something right.
It is. Now, what did I say for cons? It says, well, Phineas, you're over. Well, yes.
Oh,
my main critique of the album,
over.
From the first time I heard it, I said, Billie, you're too talented for this. And I think Phineas is good, like whatever, but I think that they together have reached their plateau. I think we have reached a plateau of what Billie and Phineas can make together. And I think it would behoove the talent of Billie to take on some new producers and to explore creatively what else she can do, because we're hitting the ceiling here, girls.
Billie,
and I think Billie is too good for this. That's my truth.
Billie, look up the reviews for Phineas's solo work. Look it up, read it,
and then come back
and say, is that the cart that I want my horse to drag around town?
Well, it's the blood pumping through her veins. We have to admit it. It is the blood pumping through her veins.
Blood's thicker than the payroll, I guess.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. Some might say that.
You know what? This album, to me, is one of the most baffling albums of the year. And I just could not connect with it. And I don't generally connect with Billie as an artist, period. So that makes sense to me. But I have always been able to see the excellence of what she's done. I thought her debut record was so cool. I thought it was so different. I thought it introduced something really exciting to mainstream pop. I also thought her second record was even better in the sense that it was like experimental. We had like Billie's Bossa Nova, we had NDA, we had so many different interesting things going on. Hit Me Hard and Flop, to me, is one thing. It is one thing and one thing only. And it also baffles me that I think this was the number 3 best reviewed album of the year. It came at an 89 on Metacritic. And I want to read from this review because I think me arguing with this review will just show what I think the cons of this album are. Hit Me Hard and Soft has rewritten the year's narrative by not overstaying its welcome. Who could have guessed that nowadays a 40-minute album runtime would be such a breath of fresh air? I'd just like to say that Ariana Grande's Eternal Sunshine was just as short, if not shorter, and came out before. I'm just saying.
And they didn't care. And they didn't care.
I'm just saying, they didn't care. And now here's where it starts to go off the course. Phineas's arrangements are so tight and complementary to Eilish's own macabre tendencies and unfiltered anecdotes that it's impossible not to be charmed by the sheer lack of fuss this record expounds. Now, when I tell you that listening to this album, I felt like I was listening to the Tortured Poets ×2. It dragged on for so long with so many indefinite, just kind of like tweaks in between things. It just felt like things that I've heard from Billie a million times before. There was nothing to me that was different sufficiently on this record from what she's done before, especially coming off of the last record that I felt like went into so many different areas. To me, this is the best example of the worst of her and Phineas together. When you get stuck in a room with the same person for that many years, there's no light. We need to open the window. We need to let the light in. We need to reach the hand out and pull someone into the cave and allow them to have a go at the computer, because I can't with this anymore.
I am complete agreement. Phineas, you have been evicted from the villa.
Enough.
The girls.
Enough. And Billie,
the girls.
I want to see what Billie can do without him. And at this point, you know what? It is concerning to me that we're on a third full-length LP and we haven't seen what you can do without one collaborator. Like, I need to see what Billie is capable of doing on her own. I'm very curious as to like how much of each other are in these efforts, because the Phineas solo work sonically is really not different from the Billie stuff. Billie is the lyricist to me, it seems, and I'm kind of like, let's get her in a room with someone that is not drowning her words in bizarre, I don't know, anime wonderland. I'm not interested in this anymore. So I think that we need to get my good sis Billie. I think she needs to be brave and take a risk. It's very easy to just like stick with your one main collaborator, especially when that collaborator is your brother. I understand she was very young when they started working together. It's probably a safety blanket. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, blah, blah, blah. But I think for her own personal artistic evolution as an artist that is of her own merit away from Phineas, she has got to try and do something with someone else. And I can already anticipate that the Billie stands are going to say, well, Taylor, Taylor.
Different.
So different because at this point, Taylor has landed on a creative partnership with Jack Antonoff after a decade of experimentation. She was working with Nathan Chapman. She was working with Max Martin. She was working with Ryan Tedder, Johann Shellback. She, with an album, you know what? And she did the same. I will give this to them. Debut, Fearless, and Speak Now were pretty much all Nathan Chapman efforts. What did Taylor do on her fourth record? She did the most diverse thing she's ever done before. She worked with as many different people as possible with the express goal of challenging herself. And, you know, as Billie goes on to her fourth record cycle, I'm saying, girly,
take a note.
Mama Phineas behind you. Mama
take a note.
Phineas behind you. Get him away.
Because this ain't working anymore. It's just not working. I think this was her last hurrah, Billie Phineas. And if not, I'm disappointed. Diminishing
returns.
And that's
so
all
I'm
there
saying
is
if
to
this
it.
wins, I'm honestly just saying it quality wise, it meets all the other metrics, but from an artistic excellent perspective, it is of my opinion that this is just not up there. Sorry, girls.
I think
Cue the death threats.
I think it has a good chance of winning. I do. And I would be all right with it. I'm going to tell you the truth. I would be okay with that because I feel like I saw it coming. So I'd be like, all right, well, there it is. I also feel like it would be the least, well, I feel like the Taylor fans would go absolutely bananas. So never mind. I mean, I was going to say, I think it would be the least.
The Angels are going to get mad. The Angels are going to get mad regardless, but they would be most, I think, you know, the person who is really going to get ended if they win is, as we all know,
Miss
the
Taylor.
HBIC herself.
And
is she up
you know
next?
What? No.
She's up next. Oh, who's
is
up
she?
next?
Chappell.
Oh, Chappell.
We have Miss Chappell, the rise and fall of a Midwest princess. Now, here's like my biggest pro at this point where we are today on November 9th, as I'm speaking to you now. I think that this, for album of the year, probably one of its biggest pros, even putting all of the music aside, even putting all of the amazing things about this album aside, I do think that a win for a queer woman right now to win album of the year right now would be a really big thing to happen at this time given the climate and everything that's going on. So probably if I had to pick a frontrunner like of what I would really like to win, I'm picking Chappell. I think she's had the best year. I think she's had the most successful year. Maybe not in terms of like, no, she didn't sell 500 million copies of Torture Poets like Taylor did, but I think that she's the one that everybody's talking about. I think she's more talked about than Charli XCX. I think she's more talked about than Taylor Swift. I think that she's more interesting. I think that she's more innovative.
Well, the singles are out charting Charli XCX. That's for damn sure.
Let's talk about that. Midwest Princess almost went number 1 10 months after its release. And the only reason it didn't is because Torture Poets was still at the top of the charts. That's not nothing. Like, she has had a massively long, protracted success. Like a very, very long success. And I think that it's a really awesome, cool, just like young, fresh, innovative, different album as compared to the rest. And I think it should win, is my genuine opinion. I know I've said that about multiple ones, but I do think
100% agree with you. 100% agree with you. And I mean, it's currently at number 12 on the top albums. And this record came out over a year ago, and it was an independent release. So, I mean, Chappell has continued to amaze me this year with her tenacity, but also, beyond just the fact that she is incredible and she works hard and she's so talented, it's the way that people have responded to this record and to these songs and to this moment, to see people like so willingly and lovingly throw themselves behind a brand new artist is just, it's heartening to see. It reminds me of like the power of like fandom and stan communities. We talk a lot about like how scary stan communities are, and how the discourse has just like devolved into nonsense at this point. But I've seen so much brightness in the way that people have globbed onto Chappell Roan and supported her and championed her and allowed her to have the space to be herself as well. I think Chappell is like in real time trying to teach her fans how to treat her, and they are taking it on board. And it's rattling up all the other girls'
Yep.
fans. It really is. Everyone else is saying, well, hang on, you should just take our abuse. And she's saying, absolutely not. I don't wish to. But I
Yeah.
mean, all of that aside, The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess is an astonishing debut album. Is it completely perfect start to finish? No. There are 3 or 4 clunkers on that record that I never listened to. But the good parts of that record are so damn good that it doesn't matter. And the fact that these are all stories, again, centered around a queer woman and women loving women, and just having that focus be so, the fact that that isn't even really the main topic of conversation when we're talking about Chappell is really beautiful to me. And but also the fact that it's completely inextricable from the conversation about Chappell. It's accepted. Like, this is what normalizing queer life looks like to me, and I think that that is a beautiful thing to be awarded for. But also, the music is just so good. The music is so good. And it's crazy because I remember she was saying, like, I'm touring these songs in 2023. I wrote Feminine Nomenon in 2022 or 2021. Like, this is an old song. So talk about ahead of your time. Talk about creating a timeless record that continues to resonate. I really don't have any drawbacks for Chappell winning Album of the Year, because to me, I'm like, this just so deserves. So here is a review from Pace Magazine about Midwest Princess. Midwest Princess does an impressive job of establishing Roan's bright, gaudy, and commanding artistic vision. While we have had the privilege of watching her shape herself over the past 3 years, it's still remarkable for an artist to arrive fully formed. And I think that's what captured you and I about Chappell so much when we first saw her, was like, you didn't need to do the focus group. You didn't need to do the I need 4 albums before I can get to the good one. You arrived.
And in this day and age, to have an artist who shows up in the wig, shows up in the wig. Now, the wig always changes, but it's still the wig. It is the Chappell Roan
The
wig
wig.
in the outfit, doing HOTT, doing all that stuff. Is like, you know exactly who you are, and you know exactly what you want to do. And in this age where it's so like, I'm chameleon.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
what do you think? Do you like
shape.
this? Let me
Yeah.
change this if you don't like it.
And
That's not
I
Chappell.
just it was, I think it's really refreshing for a lot of people, and I also think it's really nice to see somebody just know who they are and be that, especially in the way that she's handled a lot of situations. She said what she said, and she repeatedly doubles down on it. And I think that especially for women and just for queer people in general, to be able to be like, no, this is who I am and this is how it's going to be, and if you don't like it, then there you
Chappell
go.
inspires me.
Yeah.
It's rare, because I don't really I try not to have the parasocial lens of artists being like, I want to be just like them. But the way that Chappell carries herself and conducts herself is something that we really should all be striving for, I think, especially in the wake of what's about to start happening. Because, we don't like to get political in Evolution of a Snake, because we want this to be a free and a fun and a relaxing place for you. But it's looking like the next 4 years are going to be pretty scary and pretty damaging. And I think that this is where Chappell Roan as an artist is going to become more important than ever before. In a weird way, it's like the perfect layup for Chappell to really become an essential artist and to become a really progressive artist. She's already there. She has all the tools at her disposal. I don't like to lay pressure upon people, because I think that Chappell doing what she's already doing, which is just living her life, being herself, singing about it, and being unapologetic about it, that's enough. That is doing enough. And that is about to become so much more powerful and a utility in 2025 and beyond.
I totally agree. I'm saying again, I don't want to put
Chappell
too
for
much
president.
pressure on. But Chappell for president. We need Chappell. I am also. It looks to me like she's gearing up to go round 2. Probably not this year, but probably maybe next summer. She's gearing up for round
I'm
2.
saying wait. I'm saying wait because The
Yeah,
Giver,
because
I thought it was okay, but I was like, this isn't. It's not to the caliber of what we've had before. I
the
also don't think The
caliber,
Subway is to the caliber either.
the
So I'm
caliber.
like, mm-mm. The
Okay, well,
caliber.
period. The caliber.
She
It's
set a
not.
bar. This is
We have
the
to hit
problem
the
though.
bar.
She set herself a bar.
And I think, now I know this has obviously been like the We Love Chapel hour, but I do think she has the total ability to rise to the occasion if she takes some time for herself, which I absolutely think
Yes.
she should be doing
Nourishes
expeditiously.
her mind, body, and soul.
Yes.
She needs to go get her album of the year and then go to the Bahamas.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Disappear. Fall off the face of the earth, Chapel. It's what you deserve for at least a good 6-7 months. And then she comes back and she's the queenie we all know and love. Thank you.
I'm just ready
so
for
much.
her. Like, I'm just so excited by her imagination and her vision. Like, I think there's no one doing it like her, no one writing like her. She's so conceptual. She's so artistic. Like, she really is of the Gaga ilk in that sense. And I think we have been needing that. We have really been needing that. And I'm trying to think of reasons why she wouldn't get it. I mean, bigotry.
I can't think of any.
That's always an option.
Homophobia, misogyny.
Literally.
Those are the only
Well,
reasons.
I mean,
So
Chappell-
if Chappell
Chappell
loses,
getting
we know who
nominated-
to blame. We know who to
Exactly. If Chappell is getting nominated, I think she's cleared those barriers we were worried before, which was that she doesn't play the game right. But they're overlooking that for Charli, and I think to me this has been Chappell's year. It really has, and it's been the whole year. It hasn't just been a month. It hasn't just been one album cycle.
Say that.
It's ongoing. She just did SNL.
Charli's doing SNL soon, isn't she? I just remembered
Is
she's hosting. She's hosting and doing musical guest. I think it's sometime this month. She's doing double duty.
Okay.
She's doing double duty. Well, she has an interest in acting. I do know this because somebody told me that.
I saw this too. She said that this is her thing that she's going to focus on.
Oh, I'm interested.
I'm looking forward to see what she's going to perform. Let's get word up on that stage and let's do Girls So Confusing.
Listen, yes.
So the fact that wasn't up for pop duo is crazy, just by the way. But you know what?
Well,
choices were made.
Choices were made.
Shall we get into the girl that's on everyone's mind?
The Miss Everything is about me, Miss Tortured Poets Department. Now, obviously, we're Swifties. So
take that with a grain of salt.
It's exactly
we have
what you
waxed
think.
Poetic about tortured poets how many times?
Yeah, a million times.
At this point, I made an hour-long video called "Tortured Poets Isn't Too Long, You're Dumb." Okay, so go and watch that if you're wondering what we have to say about this. Also, you can watch our deep dives after we heard it for the first time. The main thing going against Tortured Poets Department is that nobody wants it to win. Nobody wants it to win other than Swifties. Not a single person on the history of the planet.
If you're not a Swiftie, you want her to fail and fall into the mud.
A single non-Swiftie say that this deserves Album of the Year. Not a single person.
They don't get it. It's for us. It's for us. That's what they don't get. And therein lies the issue.
This is why we have the Snammies. This is why we have the Snammies. We have the Evolution of Snake Grammy Awards where Tortured Poets will win Album of the Year because it is. Duh.
Well, Tortured Poets actually wasn't eligible for Album of the Year at the Snammies because it would have just won.
Well, it gets Album of the Year.
That's why I took it out.
Already said. It already is Album of the Year.
Unspoken. It's understood. Basically, our Album of the Year is who's playing for number 2.
Yeah. That's how we have to do our Snammies, because otherwise it would be Taylor Swift.
Because otherwise
it's
Taylor Swift. It's Tay domination. And you know what?
You gotta tune in for the Snammies, by the way.
Yeah.
You gotta tune in. The only way that you can vote is if you go to patreon.com/Riftologist. That's the only way.
Yeah, you gotta be on the Patreon to play. Then you can make your voice heard. It'll be on YouTube. Is it gonna be live again?
Yes,
live?
I think it should be.
What am I going to get tipped for this year?
Oh, yes. We need to know.
Yes.
What are we going to get? Let's get some tips. So Tortured Poets has the lowest Metacritic score of all of these records at number 76. And I'm saying Tay hit job. Tay assassination.
I'm saying they said I've had enough of this guy. They were throwing darts at her picture. They said we're over
tomato,
it. Doesn't
tomato,
matter
tomato.
how good it actually is. We were too nice to her last year and the year before and the year before. So now we have to take all that back.
Did we not
we've
say
been over
this
this
when Midnight's
We've
won
been
album of the year?
over this.
And
They were gonna hate. Yep, exactly. Midnight stole Torture Poets album of the year. Mark my words. She will not be touching that stage for album of the year. I know it. I know it's not going to win. I'm certain. I'm certain of it.
A quote that I think from a mixed review, not entirely mixed, from The Observer says, ultimately, this may be Swift's most Swiftian album. The unhappiness profound, the details generous, the lessons absorbed. And that sums it up for me.
Well, I think that means it's album of the year, but that's, I mean, I guess they didn't see it that way. They didn't see it that way.
The fact that you know what, Taylor, I will give this to the critics and to everyone. Taylor was doing insider baseball with this record. This record is accessible at points to other people, but from start to finish, I can understand if you don't care about Taylor Swift at all, if in fact you may even dislike her, this album is very off-putting to you. Whereas if you dislike Charli XCX, I don't think that there's so much of her in all of those songs that you would be unable to find something that you like. With Tortured Poets, because of the style that it's in, because of the too muchness of it all, the too swiftness of it all, if you don't like Taylor Swift, this album is not going to rate for you.
That's just the thing. It's really hard for me to know because I'm so deep in the trenches, but what is it like to listen to Torture Poets if you don't know the lore and you don't understand what's going on and you don't know the references and like how this sounds like this and that's just like that and you can't talk in Taylor Swift lyrics? Like, are you just listening to it going, this is in hieroglyphics? Is that what it sounds like to people?
Can you imagine? That's the best example of a song that I'm like, to me, greatest song ever created. To a person that has no idea what she's talking about, what the hell are you talking about? It's coded language. It's shrouded in, like you said, deeply referential things. And I want to be clear that I don't think that that's a bad thing to do, because I think that what other artist has an intricate world, linguistic symbols. You know, there are literal scholarly papers going on about like the way that Swifties talk and the way Taylor Swift uses words to connect with people. So it's not a bad thing that she's created her most Swiftie album ever, but it is a consideration for her if she wants to continue being, I don't know, everything's not about me, but what if it is? She might want to consider dialing it down. But then again, Torture Poets selling more than anyone else. Torture Poets streamed more than anything else.
So how
Torture
insider can it be?
This is the thing. This is the thing. And they keep saying it's insider baseball. And I agree. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, but the amount of, for example, if Charli XCX were to do insider baseball, that audience of people that are going to get it, it's a small audience. It's not tiny, but it's like, I don't know, 100 million people maybe. The Taylor Swift audience of people that are going to get it, that's like 1 billion people, girls. Go and buy Eras Tour tickets alone? That's like 1 billion people.
Yeah, that's 1 billion people.
So that actually isn't a niche. That actually is mainstream, which is what people keep saying about Torture Poets. It's not mainstream popular. And I'm like, yes, it is.
You can't be the highest selling album of the year by
that no one
millions, by the way.
I'm sorry. Even if she didn't do the variants, et cetera, the streams alone. The streams
alone. People are streaming it. Go look at the numbers and then come back and tell me that. But here's
bizarrely to me, Fortnite getting turned up every day. Every day, people are tuning in to Fortnite. Yep. Lisa Barlow is singing Fortnite.
She loves Fortnite. Here's the thing about Torture Poets to me, similar to Cowboy Carter. Where are the visuals? Because I'm telling you, we would not be having nobody understands it. Well, maybe if you put out a music video that you really cared about, then you would know what it's like to have a visual. But you don't.
Told a story.
But you
Down
don't.
Bad music video could have changed the world. We could have been having Down Bad for Song of the Year. But instead, again, we are with Fortnite. And I'm so sick of her doing this.
We were forever unable. And it's like that when I saw it there,
it doesn't deserve.
I gazed
I'm a Swiftie and I'm saying no.
On Song of the Year, and I was like, this is shocking to see.
It is.
Of all songs. And it's like, here's the thing. There are some really, really, really good songs of the year on Torture Poets. And some people will never know that. Because guess what they had to hear? And for a fortnight there we were forever.
Well, she just also
That's
just
what we
completely
get?
ignored the momentum of the album coming out afterwards. And I get that she was on tour and she didn't have time to do anything. And this further supports my opinion that Fortnite as a visual there was so much shoehorned into it because she knew that she was only going to have time to do one visual. So she was like, I have to get it all in here. And that was a mistake. I think that we should have followed up Fortnite if she was going to insist on having that be the lead single. That should have been followed up very quickly with Down Bad and a music video, because that song caught on immediately. That song was ready to be a TikTok trend. That song is a great song, by the way, ripe for a visual, and she paid it dust. Instead, she waited months to do I Can Do It With a Broken Heart, which, if you think about it, is also just kind of insider baseball. It does it slap and bang.
Insider
Absolutely,
baseball.
yes, it does. But it's insider baseball.
It was written about an experience that only a certain amount of people got to experience. And people like to listen to it. I like to listen to it because I'm like, I was there. Because I was.
But also the haters and losers globbed onto that song when it came out immediately and went, are we supposed to feel bad for you?
Well, yes, actually.
Yeah. Well, yes. And now that being said, the top stream songs from Torture Poets are still those two songs, but that's because she forced them through as singles. You know, Down Bad, 350 million streams. It's not far off.
That's a lot of streams.
It's really not far off if we had just given it a second to cook. But she said instead,
well, you know what? I want to
band.
take this opportunity to address something that's been bothering me for a really long time. Just because we're talking about streams,
please,
we're talking about Torture Poets and the songs that are getting streamed Torture Poets. Why are you people not streaming Fresh Out the Slammer?
They aren't.
I want to know.
They really aren't. You know what's shocking to me, though, is that Guilty as Sin is like the 4th most streamed song, as it should be.
As it should be. It's the greatest song ever made.
It should be. It is.
I want to know, why are you people...
Yeah, you're ignoring it.
You're not doing Fresh Out the Slammer directly into Guilty as Sin like I do every single time?
No,
they're doing Fresh Out the Slammer directly into Guilty as Sin?
Skip Florida.
No, that's
Florida
my skip.
Has 70 million more streams.
And it's sick and demented. I told you I heard that in Las Vegas. They love to stream that in Las Vegas.
That is actually demented. Well, we are getting kind of off topic here, but I think Torture Poets' chances of winning low.
Probably if we're talking just pop girls. If we're talking just pop girls, I'm saying Torture Poets is the least likely. Here, if you want me to give you my list, I'll give you my list. Least likely, Torture Poets. I'm going to tell you the truth. Okay? And then right above that, I'm going to tell you my truth. Brat. Okay? And then we go up again. Sweet. Short and Sweet. And then we go Cowboy Carter. And then we go
Chappell.
Hit Me Hard and Soft. And then we go Chappell Roan.
Oh, you think Chappell has the best shot? I hope so.
Yeah, well, yes. I think. Do I want it to have the best shot? Well, yes.
Well, yes.
Does Billie have a really good chance of winning? Well, absolutely. But
it's going to be between those two, I think. To me, I'm hoping for a Chappell win, but I'm not surprised by a Billie win. And it's a stacked, honestly, you know, Brat could have had a really good chance any other year, because if she was just in contention with other artists who had, you know, like good albums but not big moments, Brat would clear. But unfortunately, this year has been so stacked that many of these albums would have won album of the year any other year. That's the crazy part of it all.
And how lucky are we? And how lucky are we? You know, we came to the buffet and we got fed like you would not believe. It's the Thanksgiving feast, and I'm giving thanks.
I'm full.
And I'm giving thanks every day.
At many points during this year said, we're full, please stop.
Yeah, I did multiple times. I was like, I've had enough.
Let's move on to record and song of the year. Again, I mean, we don't need to go into too much detail, but let's just say that Now and Then being nominated for record and song of the year, they always got to give a dinosaur a bone, huh? Always.
They always got to give a dinosaur a bone.
The paleontologist
or they got to give
on the
a
mic.
Bone. There's a couple of bones that are being given bones as well. These are dead men.
They are literally
These are
fossils.
Dead men.
They don't need that. And also,
in the earth.
record of the year to who?
Paul McCartney.
To who?
I've had enough of that guy. Am I allowed to say that?
You are. You're always saying that. Do not act like
I've had enough. I've had enough.
Don't act like you only sometimes say things about him. So you know what? The other nominations for Record of the Year are Texas Hold'em, Espresso, 360, Birds of a Feather, Not Like Us, Good Luck Babe, and Fortnite. This is the category where they are really awarding the overall production of a song, the overall performance of it. I'm really rooting for Espresso here.
Oh, me too. I think it's Song of the Year, Song of the Millennium, Song of the Decade. I'm saying
Well, this is Record of the Year. Record of the Year. I'm saying Song of the Year would be different to me because Espresso is not nominated for Song of the Year. Sabrina submitted Please, Please, Please. Please.
Yeah, which is
Espresso.
I think that was an interesting choice. I get it. I think she thinks that because Song of the Year is more about the songwriting. I think maybe she was thinking,
I understand.
Please, Please, Please is a better written song. Disagree.
She's giving both of her hits a chance. I understand. But yeah, I don't think that it really stands a chance with everything else in that category. So for record, I'm saying, I'm saying Espresso, Good Luck Babe, I would also be very happy with, and Not Like Us. I mean, Not Like Us has got to win something.
Not Like Us for sure, I think. Again, I'm thinking Chappell Sweep, but
I want Chappell Sweep.
Realistically,
this is what we want. Record and song, we want Good Luck Babe.
We're saying we want Chappell Sweep, but also we have our other deities that we need to pay tribute to. So I want to say Sabrina. I'm saying Sabrina Espresso. Thank you.
Song of the Year. This is really stiff competition. A Bar Song, Tipsy, Birds of a Feather, Die with a Smile, Fortnite, Good Luck Babe, Not Like Us, Please, 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 and Texas Hold'em. I don't think Texas Hold'em has a good chance at this award.
No. I think Not Like Us. Honestly, A Bar Song is a huge song. What's funny is that
award home.
A Bar Song and Texas Hold'em, one cannot exist. You know what I mean? It's like,
Birds of a Feather.
A Bar Song kind of does what Texas Hold'em does, but more successfully. Is that wrong to say? For men, yeah. For men, it was more popular. It was played a lot. I heard it. Oh my God. This past summer, I probably heard that song every single day, at least once.
Well, it's blocked every girl from number one over and over again. You know, Espresso never actually went number one. Only Please, Please, Please went number one. Yeah. Only Please, Please, Please.
Espresso didn't go number one.
Nope.
That can't be.
Isn't
because
that crazy?
Of Shaboozey?
Yeah.
Well,
you're literally speechless.
That ain't right. That is not right. It ain't right. But I understand. Right. I understand. People were playing that song like Swift crazy.
Yell at Shaboozey. Yell at Shaboozey.
Get on Shaboozey's case, but you won't because he's a man. Let's have that conversation.
If I was a man, I'd be.
If I were
That's my
a
new
boy.
thing now. Any Taylor Swift criticism is suddenly going, if I was a man, I'd be the man. Birds of a Feather, great chance. Has a great chance.
Good
Fortnite,
chance.
good luck with booking that stage you speak of.
Will never happen.
Never.
Good luck, babe, to you.
Good luck,
never
babe.
Happen.
I would love Good Luck Babe to win also, just because I think Good Luck Babe is such a good song. It's so good.
And you know what? I saw a video of people performing it a cappella, and it moved me to tears.
Wow.
I was crying.
And
I was weeping.
This is the thing. It's not a typical pop song either. I think it's a very atypical hit. And, you know, it's part of the reason why it's so resonant is because of what it's about. And I think it also appeals to the straight people. Amazingly.
It appeals to everybody. It has mass appeal. And I think that's kind of like the really cool thing about what Chappell does is like, yes, she's performing and she's doing her identity and she is herself all the time, but it's in such a way, it's so authentic that anybody can connect to it because of how much she means it and how deeply it resonates. So
you may be a hedge fund manager, a white male hedge fund manager with a beautiful wife and gorgeous children at home, but at the end of the day, you are still having wicked dreams
in the middle of
leaving
the night.
Tennessee, and you want to go to the Pink Pony Club.
Yeah,
it's a feeling everyone can relate to.
I think so. I mean, I think the Pink Pony Club is a feeling.
Pink Pony Club sweet. Pink Pony Club
sweet. You know what? Pink Pony Club, I think it's one of the greatest songs ever made. But that's neither here nor there.
I mean, Good Luck Babe Record of the Year, but also Hot to Go Record of the Year.
HOTTOGO.
Not submitted, but a strong contender. So Producer of the Year, interestingly, Jack Antonoff, not nominated.
He wasn't there.
Dan Nigro, nominated.
Dan Nigro, well, when you're putting the Midwest Princess up, you have to bring the Midwest horse. What did the Midwest Princess ride in on? The horse.
Exactly. So we got to put him in. And he's done excellent work. He's our producer to watch of 2024. He's definitely our producer to watch. We are seated. Pop solo performance. Bodyguard by Beyonce. I thought it was very smart of her to submit other songs. Taylor really should have taken a cue there. Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter. Apple by Charli XCX. Birds of a Feather, and Good Luck Babe. I can kind of see Apple winning this one if Charli doesn't win record or song.
I can see that too. I think Apple is a really interesting song, and I think it's more representative of Brat than I think 360 is.
Mm-hmm.
I would be happy with the Apple win here. I think Apple deserves. So do the other girls for the record, but
this is another category in which I think Charli deserves best pop duo group performance. First of all, we have Us, Gracie Abrams featuring Taylor Swift. Let's put a pin in that because I have to laugh. Levi's Jeans, Beyonce featuring Post Malone. I heard that because he got nominated for Levi's Jeans, he couldn't also be nominated for Fortnite, hence the Us nomination. We have Guess by Charli and Billie. We have The Boy Is Mine with Ariana Grande, Brandy, and Monica. And then we have Die With a Smile. Now, Die With a Smile is the dark horse because that's a Grammy song. It's just Grammy bait.
And I'm clapping and I'm cheering. I
not.
love it. Die With a Smile, #1 worldwide hit. I'm clapping.
I'm anti-cheering. Boo.
Interesting. Okay.
It's just corny. I don't like Bruno Mars. I'm not a Bruno Mars fan, but I'm saying yes to Billie and Charli for best pop duo performance. That remix went crazy.
That remix is crazy. That's probably
Spring Breakers. It goes Spring Breakers.
It goes more Spring Breakers even than Spring Breakers goes. Spring Breakers featuring Kesha was such a letdown. Guess is crazy. The music video,
it goes crazy.
I remember sitting there watching it and being like, man, this really is a Brat Summer. This is Brat Summer.
Everything.
That was when I was really, really into it. I was like, this is crazy. So I mean, yes,
by Gracie Abrams featuring Taylor Swift. I
good luck booking that stage you speak of. Good luck booking that stage you speak of. And I saw the stage that you booked live in person, and I didn't cheer. I was not cheering for that stage,
and I was tomatoing.
Yep, I saw that.
This is unbelievable to me. Unbelievable. That is Tay nepotism of its finest. They were like, Taylor submitted, we have to give her something. And sometimes with the Grammys, I'm like, anything Taylor submits, you're just gonna say, well, sure.
I mean, it's Taylor Swift. At this point, even just the fact that she's Taylor Swift means that she gets nominated. I mean, queendom. Not anybody can do that. Queendom. Most can't. Most wish they could.
Actually can't. So with pop vocal album, we decided that we think that it will likely be short and sweet. That's what I thought.
Short and sweet. So it's Short and Sweet, Eternal Sunshine, Midwest Princess, Brat. Who's the fifth one? Is it Torture Poets?
Yes.
Yeah, I think Short and Sweet. I mean, Midwest Princess, if it doesn't win Album of the Year. that's when I accept. Yeah.
Best music video is Taylor Swift by A$AP Rocky. I have not heard this song.
I haven't heard it either, and I find that odd. No. I think it's so strange that I haven't heard that.
Taylor Swift?
I think it's just the pun, and he's using the pun to like get attention, which is funny, but
Best music video is crazy. So 360, Taylor Swift, Houdini by Eminem, Not Like Us, and Fortnite. Fortnite, again, get out of here. Out.
I'm saying 360. Enough. That's what I'm saying. I love the 360 video.
Oh, yes.
Is it 100%. As good as the Von Dutch video? No, but what is? What is? I ask you. The 360 I will accept.
My ranking of the 2024 music videos, and I was like, queen of music videos this year is Charli XCX, bar none, 0. Her visuals this year have been
really
crazy.
Delicious.
And that 360 video is so good. And to me, 360 video is really what started Brat Summer. That's really when Brat Summer like kicked into high overdrive with the It Girls, with Chloe Sevigny being in it, Julia Fox. That's when I'm So Julia started. Like that was when it like kicked up a notch. So I think it deserves for that. But Not Like Us is a great music video too. Really good music video.
I really liked about the Brat music videos the fact that they were always in really mundane settings, and they're very dark colored. They're very like neutral toned. I just
but
like
not,
thinking
but
about
not
them.
in a we don't have the budget for lighting way. In a very deliberate,
it's very deliberate, fascinating.
Von Dutch
I really
actually is the best music video. The cinematography is
call it what
crazy
it is.
on that. It's crazy. It really is so
I understood it from day one. Day
We
one,
got it.
baby. Von Dutch.
We
But
got
Not
it.
Like Us also is incredible. As we
See, now
know.
that
As we
it's
know.
hard. It's stacked. It's a
I
stacked year.
know
It's
he's
really
gonna
difficult.
win at some point with Not Like Us, as he should. Because, I mean, if you just think about the fact that a mixtape about wanting, essentially killing Drake right in front of our eyes.
That is
is
literally the
number
level of
one.
petty that I aspire to.
He's doing it at the Super Bowl, baby. You
Oh
can't
my
come back
God.
from that.
You can't come back from that.
It's
You
over.
cannot. Drake, get up on your good foot.
Yeah.
Can't.
Get up on your good foot.
Impossible. Well, so do you think there were any major snubs that you want to talk about?
So I said Megan Maroney I was surprised about. I was surprised about the Eras Tour movie not being nominated, and then I was surprised about. There were a couple of people that I personally, not that I thought that they would,
Nothing for
but
Casey
that I thought
Musgraves.
that they should.
Nothing
They
for Casey
only in
Musgraves.
country categories, and she submitted The Architect. Did you see that?
I've never even heard that song.
It's a random song from Deeper Well. She didn't even submit Deeper Well, the song.
She didn't?
Isn't that ridiculous?
Why?
No, she didn't.
Perhaps
Because
Why?
she's silly. Now, here's what I'm saying. I'm saying, where's my leve? Of course they weren't going to give it to her. I'm saying, where's Nasty by Tinashe? Where's my Nasty? Is somebody going to match my freak? Apparently not.
Oh yeah,
apparently not.
Absolutely. Also, was Water? I don't know if that was eligible this year. I think it was actually right on the cusp. Nasty not getting any nominations is absolutely crazy.
Well, we know the truth. And we know the truth.
We know the truth.
We know the truth, which is that Nasty, one of the songs of the year. Some of us know that.
That is absolutely shocking to me.
Also, Megan Thee Stallion. I don't understand that. Like, where's?
I didn't think this Megan record was that good. Did you think it was good?
Well, I thought that Hiss was pretty good.
Hiss is good.
Not necessarily the record, but like, where's Hiss? I just feel like she's such a big name in hip hop. It's like not even a
hip hop didn't have a great showing in any of the main categories. I mean, we had Not Like Us pretty much being the solo representative of it. I mean, it was either going to be that or Houdini by Eminem, and nobody asked.
And no asked. I mean, by leaps and bounds, I'm saying Kendrick Lamar any day.
I'm saying Beautiful
any
Things
day
by
of the
Benson Boone instead.
I love these beautiful things.
Wait, so he wasn't nominated for Song of the Year for that? That makes me chuckle. It was not record or song. I have to laugh. I really thought that was like a Grammy shoo-in to me. That's the kind of song in like 2012. It's very Imagine Dragons. Like, I feel like they would have loved that, but they couldn't deny the girls.
Well, Lana loved it. Lana said, "Get up on my stage. You're welcome on any stage I book. Come on up, Benson Boone. Do your flips on my stage as I spin around on my stripper pole."
Lana has been psychotic this year, but that's a topic for another day.
Where do you even begin? Where to even begin?
On that note, thank you for tuning in to our prediction of the Grammys. You will also get an episode of us dissecting the Grammys when they happen. If they happen, who knows?
You might not even make it that far.
The Snammies is coming sooner than you think. So if you want to get in and see the nominations and make your voice heard, you got to go to patreon.com/Truthologist. And we will probably do it in the first week or the second week of December, live on YouTube. So stay tuned for that. God bless, and we will see you soon. Thank you for tuning in, as always.